Hi everyone. Today I'm going to look at another track from Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Super excited to continue to make my way through this soundtrack before I play the game. Today I have a track that I'm assuming is a character theme, although I didn't find it when I Control F'd on the official Spotify soundtrack, but a lot of tracks I've looked up to listen to from requests have not shown up by name when I look, so there seems to be some oddity with like colloquial names of some tracks versus like which ones are the official soundtrack, which is interesting. It means the game must have a lot of music in different forms. But I'm assuming this is some kind of character, even though I would think a main character's theme would be on the official OST. I'm assuming the name is pronounced Alina in like, I would pronounce it that way in German, Alina, but I think French has similar L's and maybe the same way the E would show up. I wouldn't try to pronounce it like the American English way, but yeah, I'm assuming it's Alina. And I don't know what to expect. It's 2.5 minutes. I picked the video that has the official music video. I listened to the first half second of it and the other one with a static image, and they sounded identical. So I was like, okay, same music either way. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Everything from the soundtrack has been wonderful. We'll see if I can make an hour-long video out of 2 minutes of music, or if this will be a rare short one, like 10 minutes. Yeah, let's check it out. Wow. Stunning voices. Great tension build-up here. We're about to resolve into probably the back to the tonic for the start of this track at 20 seconds of this soft intro. Just the most beautiful way a voice could ever sound, and just this subtle, quiet duet kind of happening, or harmonization, like not a lot going on with it yet motion-wise, but just beautiful, just human voice sounding like this is so wonderful.
Sors et fuis, je t'en prie, fuis ce tableau maudit, cette toile d'une fausse vie.
I do love singing in French as well. I mean, not doing it myself, but I love French singing in classical music, French and German art songs. I'm a big fan of chansons and Lieder. Yeah, they're beautiful. When I was living in Vienna a little bit, I think the first concert I took myself to while I was staying there, I went alone, ran over from the international language school I was at to the concert house, to one of their smaller concert halls, and I watched beautiful song cycle with Schubert songs, a very Viennese classic, and I've done a lot of work with Schubert songs. If you've seen my Xenoblade X reaction with So nah, so fern, that German song, then you'll see me talk about my background doing some translation work and arrangement stuff with Schubert Lieder. But there's also Debussy art songs in that concert. That was the first time I'd ever seen Debussy songs live, and they were unbelievable. Like, I went to that concert for the Schubert. I was in Vienna. I've worked with that music. I love it. I really wanted to see it live and pay tribute, but the Debussy songs were the highlight. Very similar to how incredible it feels when this track opens and you hear those voices, is very similar impact to the start of that concert. It opened with the Debussy.
Seul extase
it was a similar experience. It reminds me of this. Familiar is the right term. It's very familiar to me, and a place of comfort.
Sors et fuis, je t'en prie. Fuis ce tableau maudit, cette toile d'une fausse vie.
Ooh, I love that single note. Is that the same one the piano did on the intro? Throws this one note floating out there that's a little bit dissonant compared to the rest, to help prepare that harmony. Oh, maybe it is the same note. I love that because it's like quickly builds like 30 seconds. It's created an iconic kind of shape where you already recognize the pattern of the end of these phrases having this single note, the single D floating out there in space as you let go, back off, and transition to the next part. 30 seconds and it's built a familiar pattern already to make one note feel important. Just that one, enough for me to immediately notice it and be able to see that it's the same, even though it's changed to a very different sounding instrument and the context is slightly different. I love that, just a subtle detail. Love that little string counter melody, stepping up the scale. I keep not backing up far enough. I think it's because I'm not used to a track as short. Lovely vibes. Yeah, I like the arrangement on the piano here. Just some interesting space and shaping with these chords on the piano. That one. Yeah, what is this chord? It's cool. It's got some like whole step, consecutive whole step notes for little dissonance. Nice, just floats out. Wow, just the subtle crescendo at such a quiet volume with multiple instruments at once. The strings gradually build. The quiet piano, of course, the piano can't, it can only simulate those dynamics by gradually playing different notes louder. It's still a percussion instrument, despite being the master instrument, in my opinion, but it can only pretend to have those kinds of dynamics, so it can't truly crescendo unless we're playing more notes, and it's just entering with one, but it is soft, and then the voice comes in. I think it gives the impression that everything, including the voice and the piano, are all subtly crescendoing from nothing to this quiet volume in a beautiful way. In reality, the voice and piano come in quietly, but on a static volume as far as dynamic levels go. And it's actually all the strings doing the heavy lifting to give that impression. Yeah, it's the soft, spread out background strings that also crescendo in from nothing, as well as the violin more in the forefront. So 2 layers of strings are doing the crescendoing that blends a little bit with especially the voice, so that even though the voice comes in 0 to 100 at the volume it's at a quiet volume, but it goes from off to on, but what the strings do is close enough in timbre to the voice that it kind of connects and makes everything feels like it's swelling up. Again, only to a low volume, but it kind of took my breath away, just that gentle rise in what I thought was everything. But in reality, it's just those strings creating that effect on their own because it works so well with what else is going on. Anyways, I back up 5 or 10, go into it again. It's very poignant. Again, great dynamics. Great subtle swells. Ooh, we get
Alors
the pizzicato.
tranchons la trame, découle la sinistre esquisse. Sors.
Okay, so we, for the first time, get pizzicato strings, the plucked, which really cool. They're basically going 1 2 3 1 2 3, like up and then down, sort of arpeggiated triads. What's really cool is that they're using stereo and they're going up 3 on the right ear and down 3 on the left ear. That's really neat. Let me double check if they do it the whole time. I only caught it at the end.
Alors tranchons la trame.
No, currently they have the like slower bump, 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 pizzicato plucks on the left, and they have all of the bump, 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 bump going on the right the whole time.
Découle la sinistre esquisse.
You know, I was totally wrong. It's not going up on the right and down on the left. Okay, they're not doing that kind of stereo trickery. Rather, there's some of the instruments plucking, just they have a different part written and they're in the left. And the ones that are doing continuous regular rhythm notes that are a bit faster are going on the right, generally with the arpeggiated triads. But when the left starts moving a little more, that's where it confused me and gave the impression that it was actually the same instruments, and depending on what motion they were doing, they were different stereo, which is cool. I have heard that done rarely, but sometimes that stereo stuff is done. Anyways, it still has a great stereo effect, but it is like more sensible or more grounded. It's some instruments are in one direction and some are in the other, simulating if you were in the space, which is, you know, that's the effect you want from stereo. Anyways, but yeah, clearly we're getting more compression and intensity coming into the vocal, which I was expecting based on how soft it was. I mean, a piece could be very soft all the way throughout and be wonderful, but I did think it was probably going to go somewhere a little bit dynamically with the melody and the singing approach. So we get that change in the vocal section is more intense, and we get this lovely recording of these different strings groups doing pizzicato, which I think sounds amazing. It really does. It's recorded very well. There's like a physicality to the sound of the plucking. It's kind of like when you hear a really good acoustic guitar recording, you know, some classical guitarist like John Williams or something, and you really hear the nylon strings or whatever type of guitar they're playing, when you can hear the fingers and you hear the tactile nature of it. Like pizzicato recorded well, like gives that impression. It's like you can feel it a little bit. And I love that. And it's going on here. And again, having some in both ears, the different parts is like doubly pleasurable in the tactile way. It's so good. But yeah, I'm going to back up, listen to this section again, and pay more attention to the vocal, because it's stunning as it gets more intense here.
Alors tranchons la trame.
Sounded like German for a second. Noch. Wait, what? It wasn't German. This is ridiculous. Obviously, it's French, but like,
Alors
it sounds almost exactly like Noch Traum. Or like you would say, like Ich träume noch, like I still dream, would be what that phrase would be, and would be in a lot of, art songs like this. Something noch Traum. It's just funny how much it sounds like a perfectly acceptable German phrase for an art song about still dreaming. For a second, I was just like, wait a second, was that German? It's funny. It's so close. I've never like done this, but it's almost like a misheard lyrics. If you've ever done that or seen like videos of it or talked to friends about it with happened a lot with like early Fall Out Boy songs. I remember it being a lot there. Patrick Stump like sometimes being hard to tell what he's saying. But yeah, funny like misheard lyrics. Usually just like English speakers talking about songs in English, as far as what I know. But one of my German friends once showed me like a video of like cross language misheard lyrics between German and English. And like there's some videos on YouTube of that that are hilarious, and I didn't realize it could be so like entertaining to mishear lyrics across languages. Like if you hear somebody singing, I think it was German speakers listening to songs in English and mishearing the English as German, I think is what it was. And sometimes hearing English phrases perfectly sounding like certain German ones and then being like really funny, ridiculous phrases. This is kind of an example of that. It's an experience, again, I only got exposed to a little bit, but I just had a moment of like cross-language misheard lyrics where like you could capture some moments of this and have it be perfectly convincing to say, you know, I hear it as these words in a different language. Yeah, I've never really thought about that in a while, but that's funny. Like it's so convincing with the same pronunciation, but clearly it's different words. I'm actually not looking up the lyrics because I don't want to be spoiled about anything in the game. The music itself might spoil me enough, but I still know like nothing about the game. I've managed to avoid everything, just not really intentionally, or yes, intentionally, but just because I'm not looking. I'm not very in the loop with like social media. I've never really had like a Twitter. I don't like read news about games or see like groups talk about it. I'm kind of disconnected from all that, which I think is a good thing. So it hasn't taken any effort, but like I passionately want to play this game. I'm holding off to listen to music first, but I also know nothing about it. I've seen like the cover of the game. I don't know the name of any characters except what's on the soundtrack. So yeah, I don't want to be spoiled too much from the lyrics because I know a little French, or if I see a translation. So yeah, but I'm sure the French words are different than, you know, the might even not be full words that I'm taking apart into what I hear as German. Anyways, let's listen again. That was just very funny to me.
Alors tranchons la trame, découle la sinistre esquisse.
Oh, beautiful. Yes.
Sors et fuis.
What a voice.
Je t'en prie, fuis ce tableau maudit, cette toile d'une fausse vie.
Yeah, leaving off on that. Actually, not leaving off on the D floating out there. This time, it's a G. So we're in a different tonal situation right now, but the same function of this kind of floating note out there at the end of the section, at the end of the passage. But I just want to appreciate the voice. Beautiful singer, stunning. Yeah, reminds me of some of the classical singers that I've seen. Just perform beautifully. I'd love to find the name of the, let me see if on my, I have an incomplete spreadsheet of all the concerts I've been to. I really need to complete it. I want to have like a record of what I've seen. I have like 80 listed, but I'm missing a lot. I've probably been to like 120-ish classical concerts. I only got into it as an adult. So I've been going for about 10 years. Anyways, on we go for the rest of this.
Portrait rêvé, imparfait, chaîne de ta liberté.
like that. So before we had these floating Ds out there, a floating G out there at the end of these music sections. Here we have a few notes that float out. So instead of one, you're expecting that now we get a few on the piano. And where does it end? Ends another third up on a B flat. Those notes that hang out there at the end of the phrases go from a D up to a G up to the B flat, which would form a B minor harmony, if that's interesting. Not necessarily intentional, but something about the shape of the piece. But the fact that it floats up there, it makes you feel like it's, despite not being a leading tone and a half step, it would be a whole step to finish. Like, I think it feels like it wants to full step up to finish the that te do, not ti do, but te do, for that whole step back to the tonic. It really like falls off again, making you just like, you want to hear it finish. So you want it to go back to this. So yeah, it's hanging out on this. It's not resolving, which yeah builds a lot of tension for this last movement. And it seems to be in octaves. This little keyboard doesn't go high enough to play it in the correct register. It's a little higher. Anyways, yeah, so it just keeps using this technique to add this little floating tension at the end of every phrase. And this one has a little bit more detail, being more notes, but it feels the same, and it lingers wanting to finish back to that C minor, but it's not doing it. And then it just goes back down a minor third to the G. So it still doesn't resolve the way you would want it to, to be fully satisfying at that moment, which is great. It's tension and release, but it's only giving you a little bit of the release on purpose. And it's going to end not resolved as well too. Yeah, it's definitely ending on, again, like a sort of G harmony, and you want it to do that at the very end. Watch. See, there, that's what you wanted to do. But no, it's leaving it unresolved, and beautiful choice. Lets you just kind of hang on at the end. I wonder, like, if/when this is in the game in this form, like what happens afterwards? Does it totally end a section of music and go into silence to just leave room for whatever the next track happens to be? Whenever it starts to play, but like it ends and you actually do get left feeling like you're lingering unresolved with tension, or is it going to like loop, or is it going to play at a time where it moves right into something else, so it like doesn't matter too much that it leaves you unresolved? I would love if it really does just stop. This is all you hear musically for a little while. That would be beautiful. Yeah, so my impression of this track, it's incredible. Beautiful arrangement. Everything's recorded beautifully. I just want to give praise to the singer. I'm sure like the kind of vocal coach reactors are going to have a field day with this one. I might go watch a bunch of them myself because I love all of them. I love their videos. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of fun, like explaining much better than I ever could, like what's so wonderful about the singing. I think it's so pure. It's wonderful. I didn't mention it, but something I think that's really great about the singing is that the vibrato, many times, there's not a lot of length on the notes to express the vibrato. And oftentimes the vibrato can be tastefully built up to from a straight tone to gradually build into it. But when you only have a little bit of time, it's rare to have what was done at some moments in here. In fact, I should find it to talk about.
Puis ce tableau maudit, cette toile d'une fausse.
Yeah, I just think that that she is bringing the vibrato in very quickly, almost immediately, in a way that I think it's rare for that to feel as tasteful as it is here. It feels perfect. Like, I think I gotta change what's on screen. It looks like, okay. Anyways, yeah, just like, I'm not a huge fan of super operatic singing with constant, super strong vibrato. As much as I live in that world and have gone and seen live opera and enjoy it as an art form, it's not my favorite, and I prefer this kind of singing style. Certain classical singers who sing art songs in a way that's a little more pure or straight, a little more vibrato dynamic, the way a contemporary singer might use it. The operatic technique has its time and place, and I'm only talking about certain operatic techniques. There's still a variety of how people do it, but some kinds of it sound the way they sound because it's a way to ergonomically to be able to physically sing for that long, for an hour of difficult stuff over an orchestra volume wise, and still have the stamina. So it has a time and place. Everything is contextual. Just in a vacuum, pure sound, a lot of the most operatic singers, like female voices, are a little too much vibrato for me without the dynamic or enough of a flat tone to play with artistically. I just have that as my preference. I don't love that full vibrato always effect, and in some ways, some of the notes that she sings, she's introducing vibrato almost instantly in a way that I would normally say is approaching what I don't love about the most operatic female voices, or just isn't to my taste as much. But I think here it's actually a rare time where that kind of immediate vibrato is used perfectly tastefully. I think it sounds perfect. I think it's filling that space with enough vibrato for it to carry meaning artistically in a short space of time, and only on certain notes, not on everything. But when it is used, it's not used with that dynamic, or not dynamic, but the build up to the vibrato and then maybe a fade away. There just isn't really time to do that on these notes. So I really just respect, like here, that is right into the vibrato. The next note is straight. Even I almost had more vibrato than she did on that. Yeah, just there you can hear chooses full vibrato on one note, but still beautiful, but there's only a small space of time. So straight into as much vibrato as fits in that space and still sound beautiful. Next note, fully flat. And it just, to me, makes it feel like there's artistic choices being made by a singer organically with more intention, or at least more of the natural way they use their voice and express artistically. There's a debate between what levels of expression do you call intentional when they become subconscious. I think ultimately that distinction is sometimes not necessary. I think the way that instrumentalists and musicians and singers sometimes learn to use their instrument can become subconscious, but it's still containing things that in some way are like intentional through how they use their body and how they think of music, what their mental model, what their perception is of the art form and of this piece, and what they execute has something to do with the way their body moves, their hands, their legs, their vocal cords, their mouth. It all comes together for one thing, and point is, it could be conscious or it could be subconscious, which notes to choose to use vibrato on, which to use straight, and which to have a mix or a gradual change. But in some way, it's still like the intentional expression of the organism that is the singer and the way that their like body and mind perceive music and have developed its ability to execute it. Or it could be completely intentionally planned and be a really conscious, artful attempt. Either way, I think it's just as valuable and just as beautiful. I'm no vocal coach or vocalist, but I wanted to make sure I drew attention to something that at least I really loved about this. Her use of vibrato, incredible. It feels intentional, placed, accentuated in a small amount of time on these notes to really get it all out and have an impact. Anyways, that was wonderful. Again, I made a pretty long, I didn't make it to an hour, but a pretty long video on 2 minutes of music. And I will put it somewhere here. I think this is going into beautiful tranquility. I don't have any Clair Obscur tracks here yet, but I think it goes there. Yeah, it definitely does. Aline. Yeah, that was really wonderful. I look forward to everything else I do. There's a lot coming up for Clair Obscur. I'll probably do Renoir and Lumière next. All right, I'm going to try and pronounce this one. It's the 11-minute one that seems like it's really great, and is maybe a main theme, the Una fille à Timer. I gave it a shot. I do not know French pronunciation, so there you go. That's my attempt at it. But I will be doing those ones probably next. I decided to do this one now because I had 2 requests for it, and it was really short. And as you can see, I get sidetracked a lot in my podcast episodes. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this one. One of the dozens and dozens of reactions out there to these pieces. I hope that mine add something fun into the mix, and that if you're someone who's seen lots of them, that there's something unique or enjoyable about these ones. And I hope to see you in some future videos, especially more Clair Obscur. What a wonderful soundtrack. This was 2.5 minutes, but it's the first time I've seen the live performance with the singer and the musicians, and I'm really glad I got to. I hope to see more of it because it just really connects the beauty even more. Yeah, until next time. Peace.